Hi, thanks for joining me for Quick Business Tips. I'm Jennifer Swineford. Do you ever feel like your business has this invisible ceiling and you feel like maybe you're the person that is holding that ceiling in place? And you know that a stronger brand is going to give you a much bigger impact and more profit in your business, but something is keeping you holding on to that ceiling that's not letting you break through to that personal brand and step into the spotlight. Today, we are going to talk about the fears that come with being more visible and what we can do to shift those mental blocks and allow us to step into the spotlight like we were meant to and start claiming more sales and more profits for our business. Now, there is a very real internal battle that can go on between knowing that you should be more visible and legitimate fears. These are not made up things in your head. These are real fears that keep you from taking that next step. I struggled with this in a really big way for a far longer than I like to admit. Now, there are lots of really good reasons for it, and I am not one for excuses. But at 16, I had a stalker because the job that I had at 16 put me into a local, very visible bubble. And my job was to take a car around and let people sign up to win it at the end of the summer. So the radio station that was sponsoring this would tell everyone not only where I was today, but where I was going to be in upcoming days, which makes it really easy to have creepy guys show up way too often, spend way too much time, and then, find out things even back then, find out things about me and be able to find me other ways. So you can imagine the kind of fears that I showed up with when I knew that building a personal brand would help my business and how much I really, really didn't want to. But let me tell you, working through those fears, stepping outside of my comfort zone was the best thing to happen to my business. So the first thing that we want to do is identify the six main fears that hold people back. So we're going to talk about the fear of judgment from the people that you do know, the fear of negativity from people that you don't know, the fear of burnout, because let's be honest, it's real, and the fear of vulnerability, plus the pressure to always be on. Now, let's break these fears down one at a time. So first is the fear of judgment, and this is typically a fear that we have from the people that we already know. So whether we're getting ready to put ourselves out there on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, these are people that you may not have been thinking about your business when you friended them or allowed them to follow you or whatever the case may be. And you are concerned that your old college roommate is going to wonder, who do you think you are? Or past colleagues, old friends, even family members. What are they going to think about you when you start showing up on a regular basis, being an expert in your field, and shining the light on yourself? Now, I struggled with this myself, in addition to my other struggles, because most of my friends on Facebook were from high school, college, even grade school. And as far as I was concerned, the belief that I had was that there was not a single one of them that would be interested in my advice about business, marketing, or sales. And I didn't want to bother them. So I felt like I had to start over with a new profile and really be careful about it and curate it just the right way. But that was going to be way too much work and I wasn't going to do that. So instead, I chose to believe that what I was put here to do, my mission, like sharing my God-given talents, was far bigger than anybody's opinion. And I chose instead to focus on the people I was serving and who I could help instead of the people who might misunderstand, misinterpret, or judge what I was doing. And here's the crazy part. There are people who I know and they're local, and so they will come up to me from time to time and they will tell me that they love what I'm posting. They love the videos, they love the posts. It's so informative, and I'm a little taken aback, a little shocked, and I kind of cringe as much as I hate to admit it because the people that are coming to me, a lot of them aren't running their own business. They're not doing sales and they still are really enjoying my content and getting a lot of information out of it. There are even people who have been following my account for years. I forgot that I connected with them on the socials and they don't comment, but when they see me in person, they always compliment when I'm posting. So even if it feels like you are talking to an empty room, your personal brand is making an impact on someone. They may not be engaging with it, and that's really common right now with social media, but imagine that you are talking to an empty room, but that room is full of bugs, not the insect kind, the kinds that Spot uses. And people are listening in. They're not there in the room with you, but they're listening in, they're paying attention. And for whatever reason, they're not letting you know. And it's okay because you are still making an impact in their lives. And I have had a number of people who told me that they were watching my content for 6 months, a year, 18 months, 2, 3 years, and they reached out and wanted to do business with me. Again, no interaction, no engagement, no likes, no follows, no shares, no nothing. But they were paying attention and they were waiting to see if I was going to be consistent enough and show up and really claim that expert position so that they would have the confidence to then work with me. So it's the first fear. The second fear is the fear of negativity, and this usually stems from people that you don't know. So these might be trolls or really harsh critics or just general unwanted negativity from random people. Now, if you are spending any time on social media or YouTube or anything like if you're putting yourself out there at all, I am guessing that you have gotten a touch of one of these people. And I get them from time to time as well. But I've learned to laugh it off, and it's easier for me to do with this group of people because I know that they don't know me and I don't know them. And it's clearly their problem more than my problem. I've gotten some of the most unusual comments from your teeth are really weird to you sound fake. Who are you trying to be? That one I loved because it was from an account that um, claimed in the username to be a Christ follower. And then I had other comments that, while negative, were also helpful. They said that my audio quality was terrible and that I'm in marketing and that the sound should be better. And they're not wrong. It was super strange because on my devices, the audio sounded fine, but I'm PC Android. And when I switched to an Apple device, I realized the audio wasn't great. So I made some changes. Um, and you can take these negative, unknown, random people and do a number of things. You can block them, you can delete them, you can mute them, because these are super powerful tools. And what you're doing there is you are just setting a boundary. You are saying, I am not going to allow this negativity into my life, into my business. I'm just going to say, no way, my peace is more important. Or you can look at it as any comment, good or bad, is seen by the algorithms as good. If somebody is commenting, they're like, oh, we're going to need to like bump that up. So maybe you don't delete them. Maybe you don't block them. Maybe you just go ahead and keep the comments. I will oftentimes say, hey, thanks for the feedback. Even the person that said, you sound super fake. Who are you trying to be? Cool. You don't know me. Like, you don't know if this is real me or if this is fake me. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there are some times where I do have to add a little extra enthusiasm to come across as not just deadpan online. And I understand how that might come across as fake to some people, but it doesn't mean that the information that I'm sharing isn't helpful. So thanks, appreciate it. I'm going to take the tiny little grain of salt that came with your comment and throw the rest of that negativity away. So the third fear that a lot of people struggle with is the fear of burnout. Now, people have come to me and asked me if it is true that you have to post 3 times a day to be effective on social media. The answer is no. But that myth that they heard from someone who was probably trying to be helpful and, may have had a lot of good luck with or good outcomes from posting 3 times a day on social media. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, I'm saying you don't have to. Because this fear comes from the exhausting belief that visibility requires you to be online 24/7, that you have to create content at a pace that is just not attainable. And this belief is only going to lead to burnout. So, depending on what your goals are and how quickly you want to be there, posting 3 times a day is not something that needs to happen. And you're not trying to be chocolate in the world of social media. You're not trying to get everyone to like you. You want a very specific niche down target audience to like you and follow you and engage with you and then connect with you, right? And setting boundaries, very clear boundaries from the very beginning and creating a system is going to allow you to limit the burnout that comes from social media. Also, it's a total myth that you have to be available to respond to comments and answer questions and messages 24/7. I check my social media once, maybe twice a day. That's it. So, and I never check it on the weekends. So if you send me a message Friday at 6 o'clock, there is no way I am getting that until probably sometime Monday afternoon. Those are the boundaries that I put in place for my own profile, but you have to figure out what works for you. Because visibility isn't about more hustle. It's about creating smarter systems and boundaries. And there is real power in repurposing content and batching content so that you can schedule an entire week or 2 weeks or even a month of content ahead of time so that you're not having to spend an hour every day trying to come up with a new post and a new caption with a new graphic and all of this stuff. Because when it comes down to it, it's quality over quantity when it comes to social media. Now, that being said, you can't post once a week on social media and expect anything to happen. So, one good post a day, 3 good posts a week. These are, if you do it on a consistent basis, these are the type of systems that can really start growing your profile and increasing sales in your business. And you're going to get so much more impact out of 3 really great posts a week than you will out of posting 3 generic, vague, subpar posts every single day. Okay? 3 posts a week that are well thought out, that are helpful, that are targeted to your audience, far, far better than 3 not great posts every single day, 7 days a week. The next fear is the fear of being limited or pigeonholed, or, if you are a multi-passionate entrepreneur and it is really easy for you to have a fear of niching down, turning you into a trap that limits all of your future options. But here's the reality. Only 1 out of every 5 posts is going to get seen by the people that follow you. So it's far less for the people who don't follow you. And while repetition is boring, it's important to embrace that boring while still allowing a little wiggle room and remembering that nothing in your life is set in stone. So while you might have a very specific niche and a thing that you want to talk about, I talk a lot about marketing message, talking to your audience, creating a message that resonates with them, writing in a way that makes them feel like you've read their diary. I talk about this all of the time. But then I'll also, talk about some puppies that we fostered or a baby goat that I got to hold at the fair. Like, you allow yourself just a little bit of wiggle room and also listen to your audience because they will let you know in what areas they want to see more content. And if you are listening for them, you can provide that for them and also be true to yourself. So if you can reframe this fear of being trapped into one message, one thing that you do really well, and reframe it in a way that believes that the depth of knowledge in that one thing is what's going to create your authority, and that authority is going to unlock your freedom. It allows you to sort of embrace the boring a little more easier than you might by just thinking about it being boring. Because when you become the go-to expert in that one thing, it doesn't close your doors to all of the other things that you can also do well. It opens bigger, better ones, like speaking and book deals and high-level consulting that someone who is, saying like, I'm decent at these 5 things is never going to see. If you step in a room and say, I am an expert in this thing, huge doors get open for you. All right, the second to last fear is the fear of vulnerability. Now, it is real that there is emotional drain, self-doubt, and regret that can come from sharing something from a very vulnerable space online. And the reality is that I am still working on this. Because if I talk about marketing message and how I'm helping my clients see 5 to 10 times the return on their investment with the money that they're spending with me, I am comfortable, but I'm not vulnerable. And it is in sharing, my fear of having a personal brand and sharing my fear of vulnerability that makes me more relatable to my audience. Because nobody wants to hear like, well, I, I'm really sorry that you have a fear of vulnerability, but I've never experienced that. They want to work with somebody who understands where they're coming from because they've been there too, and they've found a way through it. The reality is that I'm an introvert and I am super private. And it takes me a long time to build trust with even my best friends and start sharing personal stuff. As a matter of fact, this might be the first time that I am publicly sharing that I'm even an introvert. But it's in that opening up in very specific areas that I have thought out ahead of time, sharing difficulties that I've already worked through, that I've now gotten on the other side of, and I can say it's fine. I know the way out. Like I fell in the same hole that you fell in, and I know the way out. Come follow me. It's in those moments that we are able to connect with another person and really help them on a deep human level. So instead of being fearful of your vulnerability, you can look at it as strategic vulnerability with boundaries. So your goal is not to share everything. You share it strategically and only what is most helpful to your audience and build a deeper connection with them. Because your whole life doesn't need to become your content on social media, only the parts that serve your target audience. And the last fear is the pressure to always be on. I understand this because my business used to be very local, and it felt like no matter what I was doing or where I was going, I was running into a client. So I could be in my gym clothes with my hair in a horrible, messy bun and no makeup on and run into a client who wanted to talk to me for 20 minutes, and I was horrified. So I spent real lifetime making sure that I was always presentable no matter what I was doing. So this fear of always being on social media wise, where it's 24/7 or can feel that way, I understand it. But the nice thing about social media, you get to decide when to be on and when to turn it off. Because this pressure to always be on is only true if you want it to be. One of the first things that I do with clients, which has nothing to do with social media, but one of the first things that I do after I onboard a new client, make sure that they're, set and comfortable and, I set expectations with them. I will not respond to an email from them until I reach about 12 to 18 hours after they sent it. I don't answer every call as soon as they ring my phone. And I don't respond to every text immediately because I value my clients deeply, but I'm not always going to be available. And if immediately after onboarding, that first 1 to 3 month period of time, if I happen to coincidentally be available at the moment that they send an email or when they do call, and I start answering the phone and responding to emails and texts right away, then later on, they're going to have those expectations that I respond right away. So early on in the relationship, I set boundaries. Now I communicate those boundaries. I say, hey, if this is an emergency, if it's timely, if you need an answer right away, call me or text. I may not be able to answer, but if you leave me a text, leave me a voicemail, I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Email, I check once or twice a day. So if it's important, don't email me and then be upset when I don't respond until the next day. Then, when they do call or text, I'm able to listen to the voicemail, read their text message, decide if it's really important, and then decide how quickly I need to get back to them. Because long term, that's going to be the relationship that I have with them. I'm not always available at the drop of the hat. And when you use that same mentality with social media, you get to decide whether you are responding to your messages, checking your messages on social media every hour, twice a day, 3 times a week. Like you get to decide and be super intentional about it. Here's another way to look at it. Think of yourself as a guide, not a guru. So let's say you're going to run a 5K, but you're not much of a runner. This is me. And so what you do is you decide to get a running buddy. I actually did this. Now, this person has run several 5Ks in their lifetime. They love to run. They've even run a couple of minis. And while training with you, they run alongside you. They let you set the pace, and they even themselves might trip, take a misstep. They're not going to have perfect form with every stride because nobody does, because we're all human. So if you see yourself as your audience's running buddy, you're going to model healthy boundaries in your own business. You might even model saying, I don't know, if you don't have the answer to a question that they ask you. You can say, I don't know, but I will find out. I don't know, but I'll ask someone who does. But by modeling these human traits, you are showing them what a good leader or a good running buddy looks like. And that is only going to build deeper trust with them. All of these fears, and even any others that I haven't talked about, they're all normal, but they don't have to be your reality. So the first step to getting over these fears is just thinking about them differently. Because knowing something in your head and acting on it are two different things. So reframing is the first step. So you can say, I have a fear of vulnerability. That fear is real, it's understandable, and I can change that fear and turn vulnerability into a superpower. Strategic vulnerability into a superpower. But then taking that next step, that action step, where you start actually being strategic about your vulnerability, stepping out there, telling people that you're an introvert, telling people that you struggled to build a personal brand for 20 years. Um, Real, true things about me. Um, but by actually doing those things, you are going to create a much more supportive environment for your audience. And that's true for all of the fears that exist around personal branding. Now, obviously, there is far more to personal branding, not only the mental stuff, but the actual action of doing this stuff. And all of that is deep work that we go into inside my program that's called the Personal Brand Impact. Right now, Personal Brand Impact has a waiting list. And if you want to be on the waiting list, you will get notified as soon as we're ready to start the next cohort. You will also get early bird bonuses and notifications because personal brand is such a critical journey. And I see so many people that are struggling with it. And by creating this strategic, supportive group of people that is designed to give you the clarity, the systems, and the confidence to not only overcome the fears that we talked about today, but to build a highly visible personal brand that you absolutely love and that is easy and fun. This is a group mentoring program that shows you how to show up authentically, attract your ideal clients, and grow your business without burnout or second guessing. Now, again, the waitlist is open, and if you want to be the first to know when the next cohort is launching, get access to early bird details, you can use the link in the show notes below. If you go on the waiting list, you're not making any kind of commitment. There is no payment due. You're just signing up to be the first to know when our doors do open. Whether you join our group or not, your voice, your story, and your expertise are needed in the world today. So don't let fears of personal branding keep you from making the impact that you were placed here to make, and keep you from helping the people that you were placed here to help. Take one small step today, embrace whatever your biggest fear is that you're struggling with, and take that first action that you know you need to take to overcome it. Until next time, keep taking bold action and keep striving for your own limitless impact.